Program execution. So you want to be looking for stuff that has been run on this machine, and it may be malicious in nature. Sometimes they're benign, maybe not benign, but just regular programs run for malicious reasons. So here's some areas to look for. So some of them are straightforward, and they look like unusual applications and programs by their names. Right? If they have a bunch of gobbledygook, so to speak, a bunch of letters, and it doesn't really have a name like application.exe, sometimes those are a sign, because when programs that create these malicious pieces of software, they don't necessarily pick names because it becomes a kind of a pain on the programming side of things to create it. So what they do is they just randomly generate some characters and they slap it in there however many characters long, and then it becomes .exe or .dll or whatever it is. So sometimes that's a big sign that, hey, something's running called blah.exe. Maybe you should check it out. So you identify unusual application and programs by location. This is another pretty big red flag. If you have stuff running out of temporary folders, generally no applications put their main executables in the temporary folders, unless it's part of the installation process. Of course, they do run some of that stuff, but generally speaking, you don't find things in the temporary folders to be run. The recycle bin, why was it run there? That should be a kind of a red flag there. And then known executable file names in unusual locations. Again, sometimes you find some things running out of a temporary folder, but it's svc hosts.exe. Well, why is that? It might be that it's a malicious form of it, and they just named it to something that's common, and then they ran it from a different location. And then from within the user profile, sometimes you can figure out some information using that. And then identify recently executed programs. If you're close enough to what you consider to be the beginning of an incident, then perhaps you can figure out executed programs based on timing of when it was actually executed. So the areas that indicate application execution, you have a prefetch. This is a folder where, in this case, it's Windows, gathers all the information when you first run an application for the first time in Windows. Windows will go out, it has to gather certain pieces of information to run it. What it does at that point is it takes all that information, and instead of having to go out and grab it all from different folders again, it puts it in a prefetch folder, and it saves that so the very next time. It's kind of like caching, if you will, at least the beginning part of that file execution. So it's much quicker. It can grab all the information it needs and then throw it into the processor, excuse me, and it makes the execution part of the program that much faster. The security logs. You can get events that show you when a particular item was executed. The recent folders, right? You've probably seen that in your Microsoft Word where you have your most recently looked at documents. They do have recent folders that you can go look at and see which ones have been used most recently. This seems really like out in the open, so perhaps this isn't a higher level attacker that would do something like this and leave that large of a footprint, but that is a possibility. Sometimes the simplest things catch people. And then, of course, the registry. The H-key current user and the H-key local machine, that's the HKCU and HKLM keys, have areas user assist and run MRU and MUI cache that'll indicate when programs have been executed. So here's just an example of nmap.exe and the process creation. And that's the Windows security auditing that caught this. So it gives you some times, right? What happened, the process creation, audit success, so you can see whether or not it actually succeeded. And it gives you where it was run from. So these are the types of things you'll be looking at. Here's that prefetch file. They have the extension .pf. And there's that nmap. And you can also see the date and time that it was executed, or when that prefetch file was created. So it'll give you an idea, excuse me, and where it's located.